In a gut-wrenching loss to the Clippers in the final game of the season, the Warriors fumbled in several ways with turnovers, offensive rebounds given to the Clippers, and a smoked layup. But ultimately, it was poor defensive execution that burned the Warriors when the game was close. In today's video, we're going to focus on how poorly executed doubles on Kawhi Leonard kept giving the Clippers easy offense by forcing the Warriors' defense into rotation and conceding easy shots when it mattered most. Let's review. So I think the first thing to discuss is the schematics of why this was bad for the Warriors. But let's start by talking about what happens whenever you send two to double Kawhi, or when you send two to double in general. You notice in this possession that Steph and Jimmy Butler are both going to come start this double on Kawhi. We'll talk about problems with that later, but on the backside, you notice a few things. The first is that the offense is playing with a numbers advantage. They have 4, and the Warriors only have 3 on this backside. Now, what happens whenever the Warriors do this, whenever Steph gets blitzed, is that Steph will get double coverage, and then usually it'll be Draymond or someone acting in the short roll to then take advantage of this opportunity, meaning that because the Warriors or the offense has 4, a lot of different things can happen. You can play in the short roll and create an open lane by forcing defenders to stretch out to shooters, or if defenders collapse as you drive inside, you can then kick out to shooters. Alternatively, if you're playing against a zone, you can always flash to the middle and then try and score from there. There's just a lot of opportunities that are created for the offense. But against the Rockets, for example, super aggressive blitzes made it difficult for Steph to easily dump that ball off. The offense, in that case, didn't have time to set, and the Warriors struggled. So the crucial part here is not giving your opponent time to set up and pull these levers. So in this example, the Warriors are the ones not being super aggressive with the blitz and thus giving the Clippers a lot of time to set up and counter that double. Now there's 2 questions that the Warriors have to ask whenever doing these doubles. The first one is this necessary? And the second is, if it is necessary, are they built personnel-wise to handle the backside? So let's review this first double. I mean, there were many, but this is one of the notable ones that happened in the fourth quarter. It's a 2-point game. We need every point we can get. So Steph and Jimmy are just going to kind of saunter to this double. And you see what immediately happens is that Norm Powell is going to lift. The problem with this example is that Kawhi is pretty keenly aware, just with his point of view, of everything going on with his offense. The Clippers obviously can see this double happening, and as a result, a few things are going to happen. It looks like Dunn maybe wants to come set a screen, but Norm is going to lift. Kawhi is going to get him the ball, and then let's look at the Warriors' rotations, which is what they actually mess up. Because the first thing that happens is that we actually send 2, both Pods and Looney, come to Norm. This means that GP2 now has to make the rotation on to Zubac, when originally he wants to stay stuck to Harden in that corner. Because of this, you see that Pods recognizes his mistake, and now he's going to let Looney take the closing out Powell. And now we have Pods essentially in no man land, which forces GP2 to cover Zubac. But GP2 is now going to recognize that Powell is coming on this drive because he beats Looney off the catch. And now we have a weird situation where no one is really covering Zubac in this dunker spot. We have Pods who made a mistake on his initial rotation and is now recovering to try and stop Norm Powell, but he's not going to end up getting the foul here. And now we have GP2 who kind of has to try and split the difference between this help and Zubac in the dunker spot. He's ultimately not able to do either, and it's just a free layup for Norm Powell. Let's watch this in full speed. Just watch the speed at which that double happens. It's not very fast. And then watch how quickly the Warriors have to scramble on the backside. You really want to avoid those situations, especially because the Warriors don't have the personnel as we were seeing through the entire game, to handle Zubats in the dunker spot. How many alley-oops, how many floaters did Zubats put in purely almost because of size? Now let's watch another example. This time, again, it's a relatively slow double. Kawhi, again, clearly can see this double happening because for a split second there, Jimmy was standing at the elbow and he wasn't sure if he should go double or stick with Dunn. But because he doubles late, yes, they do kind of force the ball out of Kawhi's hand, but watch Chris Dunn's movement. He sees that no one is covering him. GP2 is going to stay stuck to Harden. Looney wants to prevent easy buckets for Zubats in the dunker spot, and Pods has to watch Norm Powell. Because of this double, again, offensive advantage and also a spacing advantage because now you have this area in the middle of the floor that you can run to, which then collapses the defense. Look at how much time Chris Dunn has to saunter to the free throw line, basically, because this double was so slow. And now that he's in the middle, basically uncontested because they can't leave their assignments, he's just going to do an easy floater and get an easy bucket, which was everything at this point in the game. Let's watch that again at full speed. I want you to pay attention to Chris Dunn's movement along with Jimmy Butler's movement. Watch how slow the double team is, and then as soon as they see that double, Chris Dunn's just immediately flashing middle, puts the ball in the basket. Not very high effort from the Clippers because the Warriors gave them a lot of time. Now, this example isn't quite the same double, but watch what happens whenever the Warriors are forced in rotation as they show this temporary double on Kawhi Leonard. And as soon as he sees that, it's kick. As soon as he kicks, it's another rotation as the Warriors have to shift their offense to this side. And now Draymond Green has to be the one that steps up to protect against this Norm Powell drive on the Jimmy Butler closeout. But let's look at the dunker spot. Who is there? It's none other than Ivica Zubac. He's there for the easy put in case they need it. Instead, Norm Powell finishes it. It's just that the Warriors are giving a lot of options. Even though Norm Powell makes that nice finish, it could have easily gone to Zubac. And I think this is an example where maybe the double was necessary. But in this case, we couldn't handle the backside. We couldn't handle the assignment. So if the double is necessary, you then have to be prepared for your defense getting set in rotation. Now, finally, again, pay attention to how long it takes Steph and Jimmy to send this double to Kawhi. And now that you know this double is coming, watch what's going to happen on the backside. Watch what the Warriors are forced to contend with. As soon as they send this double, notice that the Clippers are already prepared for the action because it took so long. So Kawhi is again going to make that pass to Dunn, who's able to get into the middle. Now let's truly pay attention again to the personnel. We asked two questions at the start of the video. Is the double necessary? And if it is, can you handle the backside because of the personnel? In this entire game, the story was Zubac. Why? Because the Warriors can't do anything with his size and that floater and that layup or alley-oop. In this case, you're now forcing Draymond to basically handle both Dunn and Zubac in this action because GP2 has to stay attached to Harden and Pods really can't leave Norm Powell. So now it's up to Draymond to defend a 7-foot Zubac who's able to just get an easy layup and put it in. Let's watch this at full speed. Slow double at the top of the key. Dunn immediately knows to go middle. And now, because of these assignments, it's up to Draymond to defend a 7-foot soaring Zubac and Dunn, who just did a floater earlier in the fourth. There's really not much you can do. Draymond, for how good of a defender he is, can't stop that type of offense by himself. No one really can. So in a pretty tough loss to the Clippers, I don't think the Warriors necessarily played bad defense through the entire game. I don't necessarily even think that the doubles were all bad. But in these situations, whenever your doubles are slow and whenever you force Draymond or Looney to play 1 versus 2, especially close to the basket, against size, against longer wings, and against Zubats, you're just giving the Clippers free points. And I think that helped the Clippers stay in the game and put it just out of reach for the Warriors to really get that lead, even though they played pretty well in the fourth. Hopefully these problems don't repeat against the Grizzlies. Thanks for watching. Let us know if you agree.